You are tired of average. You want more out of life. You know you're capable of something greater. This show will help you become resilient in your home, at work, and in your community. Welcome to the Resilient Humans Podcast with your host, Kevin Wood. Welcome back to the Resilient Humans Podcast. And I have a great guest today. And by the way, this is our first episode back after my summer break. I took August off, so this will be our first episode in September. So I got Todd Squires with me today. He's a health and productivity coach and helping career-driven people to eat, move, and think better to boost productivity. Todd, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Kevin. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to finally catch up with you. It's been a while. We both did our Enlifted level 1 and level 2. Feel like we've gone through a lot of emotional roller coasters along the way. And
we went through some trenches.
Yeah. Went through trenches, climbed some mountains, and got the t-shirt.
That's right.
Yeah. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And what have you been doing?
Ooh, I am Todd Squires. Where am I from? From Northeast Indiana, but really I'm from a 34 years of helping in sales career and learning to have a healthier career rather than just a career. So, and where am I heading to? I'm heading to helping other people get healthy instead of always worrying about the next step in the career, maybe worrying about themselves as much as making that next step on the ladder.
What called you to this? I want to I already know. I know a bit about like the past Todd.
Yep.
Tell our listeners who that was.
Ooh, past Todd.
Because it's much different than who it is today.
100%. Thank you. Past Todd was, geez, man, drank a lot of beer. It was almost an everyday thing, if not a daily thing. Did not take care of my health and wellness. Stressed out, overweight, overworked, overthinking. And I didn't take care of myself, Kevin. It was, I didn't know that when I took care of myself, or when I wasn't taking care of myself, I wasn't taking care of other people around me, whether it was my family, whether it was the people that worked for me or worked with me, or my friends. I was looking out for me, what I thought was good for me. It's not how it, and I've come to realize that's not how that works. The better I take care of myself, the better that I have the ability to take care of others. That answers your question, I hope.
Yeah.
And it rolls, there's a ripple effect, where it rolls. When I wasn't taking care of myself, I was surrounding myself or drawing people in that were also not as healthy or that were in the same boat as I was. So we were all rowing that same thing together. I was sinking the ship more than I was sailing the ship. And through some transformation of some language, some words that I didn't know why I was using, started to talk to myself better, started taking some steps towards, started off in the gym, to be quite honest. I stumbled into a gym. Somebody gave me a free pass that was going to last 2 weeks. That was in 2011. So 13 years later, still going to the gym. It's a regular practice. It's just who I am now. It's not what I do. That's just how I approach it. Started with going to the gym. Then I dove into some food aspect. I didn't know that not eating real food could make a difference in your mind. Yeah, I'm sure you see it as well. You take care of the gut, you take care of the mind, you take care of the mind, you take care of the gut. You can take that either way. And then I led to me meeting Kevin Wood at Enlifted and having all kinds of fun with you for 20 weeks, something like that. A few, yeah.
what was the catalyst for change for you? Why did you see, or why did you discover that a change needed to be made?
Mm,
Was it like a moment that happened, or just like, a lot of people, we hear it all the time. I hear it very often, especially with speakers and presenters about their rock bottom. Was that a moment for you, or was it something else?
no, it was. So I'll go back to 2010. My dad passed away at 62 years old in 2010. And I could have taken that path either way. I took a path of bad. I actually, that catapulted me down, Kevin. So it took me into drinking even more because I thought that was going to solve my problems. But little did I know it was just suppressing them. I wasn't dealing with them. And I was sitting on the couch one night. My wife was a teacher and she worked at night. So I would just sit around drinking in my own, drinking myself. Kids went to bed and I would just sit out back or sit on the couch. So I was sitting on the couch one night and looked at the TV and I looked at her and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going nowhere. And that's when, so it was 2011 when I reached out to a friend and I knew he had a free pass. He just won it like at Christmas or something. I'm like, all right, man, I need to, let's check out this whole gym thing. He worked out a lot. And, so yeah, that was step one, was getting my butt off the couch and going to the gym. So I did that, I'd say from 2011 to 2016. Um, just working out. Didn't think about food as much. Didn't think about. I was still. It, here's my reason for going. I would go at night. I decided if I would go to the gym at night, it would give me a reason not to drink alcohol,
Mm.
or to make sure that and I still use that today. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I still use that. I'm going to go in the afternoon because it keeps me out of trouble in the evening. But it just gave me something to look forward to when the kids were down, the wife was doing her work. Let's go to the gym. That was my so that was my catalyst. Was I got tired of being lazy and sitting around drinking beer. It wasn't getting me anywhere.
It sounds like you had the insight to know what your triggers were, and you were able to change, like set up basically some fences. So we call this the elephant and the rider. It's the elephant is your subconscious, the rider is your conscious mind. And often people try to control the elephant. You can't. You can't control your subconscious because it's your subconscious.
It's always running.
You're not aware of it. It's just on autopilot. And so if you can set up some fences, such as, if I work out in the evening, I'm not going to drink. You've just built a boundary or a fence to control that elephant, to make sure that it doesn't go on a destructive path.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's a good book. If anybody gets a chance to read it, I think it's called the Ant and the Elephant. Really good book. Hard to find, but it's good if you get a hold of it.
Noted.
Cool. I like that you said earlier, the gym is not what you do, but it's who you are. Can you dive into that a bit more? What does that mean?
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's I sometimes I think it's how can I explain this? I think sometimes we use the gym as maybe an escape or everybody's got a reason for going. Um, that's a good question, Kevin. You're making me think.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that to happen. Because it's a nice thing to say, like, it's not what I do, it's who I am. Like, it sounds
yeah.
very like cliche, right? But I know
Yep.
it means something different for you. I just want to know what that means.
It's just part of what I do every day. It's part of who I am. I think if I don't show up to the gym, people start to look for me. And it's who I am, because when I go in there, it's not an escape for me anymore that it was. I replaced the alcohol with gym. Now I go to the gym just to I just go to the gym. It's not an escape. I can tell you what it's not. It's not an escape. It's not a reason to not do something else. Yeah, you're really making me think about this one. It's That's a hell of a question.
Yeah, man. So have you seen there was it was a Logan Paul interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
All right.
and he asked, like, Arnold goes to the gym every day, and he goes, "Why do you keep doing this?" I don't know how old Arnold is now. I think he's in his 70s or something. And
Right.
it's like, why do you do that? And he goes, "Well, why do you eat breakfast every day? It's the same
Yeah,
thing. It's
very true.
not,
Yeah.
it's now it's like a subconscious thing. You just do it,
Just
right?
do it. Yep.
So it almost becomes a part of, well, it's part of his identity.
Sure.
It's one of his main pillars, right? So obviously he started out as like an actor, or started out in athletics or gym stuff, actor, politics, and being a governor. But that's one of his main pillars and part of his identity. And I find when it becomes part of your identity, then you don't have to think about it. There's no decision process to it.
Yep.
It just
No,
it just is.
it just is. It's just who we not who we are. It's who we are being. Um,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Um, Tell me what you've been up to since our Enlifted days. That it seems like so long ago now.
Wow. What
Uh,
was that? 2022, 23?
yeah,
Like ended in 23.
I don't even remember. I think it was October 2022,
Okay.
possibly
So
somewhere
somewhere in
in
there. Yeah. So
there.
what have I been up to since then?
So I want to know how you've been using the Enlifted method, not just for personal reasons and also for professional reasons.
All right. Personally, um, I watch my language more now, uh, and I hear it more. I watch it in person, use it personally as just I talk to myself better. I use affirmations. I use language better. Um, and I have the ability to ask better questions and listen, um, to myself and to others. Um, and professionally, that's been a little bit slower go. I've helped people with nutrition and tying mindset into nutrition and how they're talking to themselves. Um, I've done some workshops with some large companies, just teaching them about language. Some of the stuff, Kevin, when I first brought it to them, it's like a mind blowing experience. Like, and it's just by simply changing one word, or we know about the should detox, or using should, could, can. They're like, what did you just do? That's that's what lights me up, is doing that with other people too, or changing some words around. I'll even catch myself occasionally, instead of saying I always do this, to well, it's not always, it's sometimes.
Mhm.
And doing that with other people, man, it is. This weekend I got to have an experience with three of my friends that we talked about before the show. Um, and we didn't have pen and paper. We were just talking, and I started changing some of their words, and they were like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. It's just working. It's coming out. It's coming out of my mouth. I'm listening. I'm changing words and having an experience with you. Um, Helping others turn on light bulbs or turn on switches turns on switches in me. It is, as well as I do. It's so
Yeah.
profound to watch somebody else have an aha moment. It was fun to have them ourselves. It's just as fulfilling to watch somebody else turn those switches on.
And you can see it. Like you can see
Oh,
when it happens, the
100%.
moment it happens.
Yep. You can
Um,
see, I was sitting next to one of my friends this weekend, and he was like, you could just see it come on, and I felt it. It's like, oh, yeah, they talk about feeling energy. I could feel it. It was so, that's fulfilling. That's fun.
it's really cool. I had a similar moment. It was just a session just out here. We were just in the lounge area. We were chatting, rearranging some words and stuff, and it hit him like a ton of bricks.
But
And
yeah.
he had this emotional response to a sentence
Hmm.
that I pulled out of his words or his language, and it made a massive difference. And he goes, I'm not an emotional guy, but that really hit. It's like,
That
yes,
cool.
that's what it's all about.
And
And
it's
people don't
cool.
realize, it doesn't take much. Like I wouldn't call us like wizards or anything.
It's not
Um,
rocket science.
no, it really isn't. It's simple stuff, but people's thoughts are so fast that they don't spend time slowing down to actually digest or contemplate what they're actually thinking. I
Hmm.
call it the marbles in the dryer.
I heard
You
you.
throw a bunch of marbles in a dryer, man, that's destructive and chaotic. You got to push pause, take each marble out, analyze it, slow it down. Is there anything I can do about this? Yes. Great. Action item. No. Don't worry about it. Throw it in the garbage.
Yep. Actually, I heard, I've used that analogy with somebody. I think it was you and, there's a podcast you and Mark England did, talked about it. And I will use that occasionally. I'm like, all right, man, I remember what Kevin said.
Yeah.
It's fun to, over the weekend with these guys, it's fun to be able to, I think it's because we've slowed down so much, be able to recall conversations from other, just like that. I can pull that stuff up in my mind and use it as an analogy to help them. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I've never thought of it that way. That's because you
I
don't
love
slow
it when
down
people
enough.
say that. Yeah, for sure.
So when you
Um,
had, can I ask you a question?
yeah, go for it.
So when you had this little breakthrough with a client the other day, did he have a did that emotion go from happy to sad or sad to happy, or have you seen them go both ways?
It was almost, it was like neutral to like an oh shit moment.
Hmm,
Like I've never thought about it that way.
gotcha.
So, so often, people think, and it's weird in this climate that we're in now on social media. It's like we see the extremes, we see the lowest of lows, we see the highest of highs, but most people are living like straight down the middle. And when they do that, they don't get to really experience life to the fullest. And so all I took was this kind of like what seemed to be a neutral thing and kind of like put a spotlight on it
Hmm,
by just changing a couple words. And then that was like, whoa, oh my God. Yes. And it was more like an affirmation, like something that he should be proud of. Right. And it's like, oh my, yeah, I did do that. I did take that risk. And it was just cool to see. So,
yep. And
yeah.
you and I get to talk about you when you said that. It popped something into my mind. Like most of us don't celebrate wins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Back to my conversation over the weekend, I asked one of my friends if he said he wasn't successful. I'm like, all right, man, you don't define success for me, but tell me some tell me some things you've had success in. And it took him a while. It's like you ask him what have you failed at, and he can rattle them
Uh-huh.
right off. It's like, all right, man, you got those out of the way. Now let's try this again. What have you been successful at? We cleaned out some of the old stuff that he wasn't successful at, and it gave him room to look at some things that he was successful at. And he's like, kind of same thing. Oh shit, maybe I'm better off than what I thought I was. I'm like, damn right you were.
Yep.
So it's fun to watch that.
Yeah, we definitely need both. And that was the benefit of doing the level two. Like we now have both sides to work with when we work with people. It's not just tearing down and breaking down the bad stuff, but it's also highlighting the good stuff that many people do not do. We don't look at the all the good. And I remember, man, that was my level two hit me more emotionally than the level one
Hmm.
because I had that story of being average and never amounting to anything. And then when I went through the document and started going through all the stuff that I was successful with and my achievements, and it's like, holy crap, there's a lot.
You ever,
I don't hold that. Like you don't hold that in your mind. It's always the negative. So I guess my question to you is why? Why is it so easy to hang on to all the negative stuff
mm,
versus the positive? Do you have
uh,
a theory on that?
yeah, absolutely. I've been reading a book. Actually, I just threw it somewhere. I don't know where to put it. About letting go. Um, I think for programs that much. I think that's just the way society programs us. Um, the book talks about our mind is a computer, our subconscious is a computer. It's always recording stuff in the background. You talked about it a little bit earlier. And I say that subconsciously. um, we get programmed that way from, I guess maybe not all of us. It really depends on how your parents or your parents were also programmed. If they're programmed to always see the wins, they're always going to see some wins. But if you're programmed to always see negative, I think you're always going to see that negative side of things, or see the losses rather than. We know this saying: the winners stare at the wins, losers stare at the losses.
Right. It's a practice.
It's a practice. Oh, for sure. So I believe that we get programmed that way.
I'm wondering, this is my theory, that there's a evolutionary aspect to this. Back when we were cavemen, we had to program our minds to highlight the negatives so that we didn't get into danger. We didn't get into trouble. And so we always have to keep those negative things in mind so that we don't go and eat that same bush that killed 3 of my family members.
Yeah.
Or go into that spot of the forest where there's a bunch of saber-toothed tigers and they're going to kill everybody.
Right.
So I feel like there must be some type of evolutionary, adaptation to this. And it's just part of our monkey brains. Right.
Yep. Yeah. It goes back farther than the 7. They say that history goes back 7 generations or something like that. Kevin Wood says it goes back eons ago. And I believe it does. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can train ourselves out of it. Like that. For sure. That evolutionary thing is still there. And, you're going to be, your awareness will be heightened when you're in certain situations. I think of a near-death experience that I had. And I know that I would never put myself back in that situation again because of that negative experience that I had. I was on the side of a cliff at, we'll call it a local spot. I don't want to say where, but I was cliff cleaning. It was my job. And I was knocking off loose rocks off the side of the cliff before clients would get there to rappel down it. And one day I had a crowbar attached and I was ranking at the side of the cliff, and all of a sudden I heard this giant crack. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a big one. I didn't know, but the whole wall in front of me started falling towards me. And I'm only held up there by a little 11 millimeter piece of rope. And I started running up the wall as it was sliding down, and the top edge of the cliff hit me in my, right on the side of my wrist. I could see the bone coming through my wrist. I was 150 feet off the ground. And if that would have hit my rope, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
Was that
scary as shit?
I'll bet. Was that your catalyst to change?
No, it wasn't.
All right.
Because I rappelled down, went up to the house, duct taped a bunch of bandages to my wrist, and went back out and kept going.
How'd you do that?
And now I know when I'm in the type of situation, and I haven't been in that situation since then, but I know not to put myself in that situation without somebody there or without extra rope or extra support, whatever it is. So it's just one example. I mean, I've had tons of vehicular and motorcycle things that I've almost been wiped off the road. And now I know to look for those situations when they come up. I'm more aware of them. Sure. Now, those are all negative things and they could have killed me, which is one thing, but people still do that with other aspects of their life. And I find people are hyper aware of the negatives, and that's what they're looking for. They're just looking for the negatives wherever they can. And we just get accustomed to it because, as we said, it's more of a practice, and we haven't practiced looking at all the times when we're successful and when we're winning.
Yep. What we think about expands. We always think about the negative. We're always going to find negative where we think it. And I know for me personally, you asked me earlier I don't remember what the question was, but maybe a transformation or a catalyst, learning to talk to myself better and always look for, not always, but 95% of the time, look for the positive in something. That's been a game changer. Not only for me, but for my family, my friends, my job, and the people at the gym. They're like, they know I didn't know that this was happening, but they know I was making a change in the gym because I was positive all the time. Like a workout is going to be a workout no matter how you look at it, whether it's snatches or whether it's deadlifts or whether it's doing Murph. If you take it in a positive way, how am I going to end up? How am I going to feel at the end of this? Rather than this is going to be a shitty workout.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at the workout too. Yeah, well, you look at it two different ways. So why not look at it in I'm going to be a badass when I get done with this thing, or I could look at it like, wow, this is going to suck today. So I didn't know I was doing that, Kevin. Until somebody tapped me on the shoulder, like, dude, do you know what you're doing to this gym? You're changing the atmosphere in it. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know that.
So that reminds me of something from just recently. We just did a workout. It was a memorial workout for Lazar. He was one of the CrossFit Game athletes that died last week at the CrossFit Games. And I caught myself on our second run. It was we had a bunch of 800 meters between a bunch of exercises, and I was thinking, I can't breathe. That was the words. And then I caught myself and I said, no, I can breathe. And then I took it one step further and I said, I don't know, I am breathing. I'm breathing right now. And I'm going to continue to keep breathing throughout this workout. And it went from a negative thought that was slowing me down to an affirmative thought that kept me going.
Nice.
So it's crazy how the words play into our output, into our performance. It changes everything. If it changes the performance in the middle of your workout, imagine what it can do for your relationships with your family or your coworkers or wherever.
Yeah, whatever. I got a good question for you then. So have you ever been into a working out with, in a group class or a run or like a 5K or whatever, and caught yourself or been around somebody else that you can hear them complaining about the workout, and it starts to, like, the energy starts to bring you down?
Yep.
Yeah. I was recently in a 5K. I just like to run just for fun. And the kid next to me was like breathing real heavy, and he started complaining, and I could feel the energy from him transferring to me. I'm like, oh, man, I either got to go past this kid or slow down. So I decided to slow down. I slowed down and sped up. Does that make sense? I slowed down and was able to speed up. I let him get ahead, and I ended up setting a PR for myself in that 5K by simply slowing down to let this kid move away from me so I could run faster. But if you had told me that a couple years ago, I asked you what you were smoking, Kevin, but until I witnessed it happen.
We hear it.
So wild. Yeah.
And our members will call each other out on it when they hear it as well. I mean, we have it written right in our policies and procedure sheet that everybody signs off on before they become a member. If you say, I can't, you win 10 burpees.
No, nice.
That's it. Like you don't say that word because it's going to limit you and the others around you when you start spewing that type of language.
Yep. But I got one for you to ask them. So next time somebody says I can't, ask them if they can't or if they just won't.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
We give them alternatives to say, such as, I haven't had enough practice at this yet. Right? That's an alternative. Yep. It's not that you can't, it's just you haven't practiced enough.
Yep. I haven't practiced
enough. I haven't had enough consistency yet to attain this. Right?
Yeah.
That's potential. It's not saying that you can't and never will.
Right. Yep. I can't, or what I've found of myself is if I can't do something or I won't do something. Is there something in my subconscious that's saying I won't do that, or I can't, or I won't? So yeah, it's interesting.
I have a tattoo on my forearm. It says "Aut viam inveniam aut faciam," which means I'll either find a way or I'll make one. And it's my reminder that no problems are unsolvable. Everything is figure outable. You can always figure something out.
Sure.
And then
I
that
like
goes
that.
back to failure. Failure is just a learning opportunity.
Very well. Nice.
So even
Right
if
now.
whatever you think you failed at, if you think it's a failure, then you haven't learned anything. But if you think of it as a learning opportunity, then you keep winning.
Sure. That's the definition of, in my eyes, success.
Correct.
Yep. Well done.
Todd, I'd like you to go back many, many years to your younger self and give yourself one piece of advice that would have changed the trajectory of your life.
Hmm. Interestingly enough, Kevin, well, somebody asked me that over the weekend. They're like,
Oh, nice.
what would your 17-year-old self tell your 51-year-old self now? Don't start drinking alcohol. Eat health. Eat. Two things: eat healthy or eat real food. Don't drink. But I wouldn't say that I would change anything I've done in my life. But if there's something I would tell myself not to do or to do, those would be the two things.
Why do you think? So I agree with you on the drinking, man. Like it'll be coming up to 5 years for me since I've had a drink. And it's not like it was a problem. Like it wasn't every night. It was just a social thing. Um, but I see it affecting so many people. It's what's holding them back from truly getting a transformation.
Sure, I absolutely, 100% believe that.
Why do people rely on it? Is it because it masks things so well?
Um, for me, yes. I can't answer that for everybody, but for me, it was a tool of suppression or repression. Just pushing things down and not having to deal with them at the time. Um, and I think that makes I think that was making me drink more, because if I didn't deal with it, I'd just keep pushing it down rather than putting it in front of my face and going, all right, man, here's what you got to deal with, the grievance of your dad. Or whatever that grievance was. I had lost a very close friend in 1989. So I'd have been 16 years old. That's probably actually when I started drinking, Kevin. So I was trying to drown that out rather than facing it. But little did I know that it's easier to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or a month, whatever it is, and face that fact rather than let it stew inside for whatever, 1989 for 35 years. So what you think is helping is actually what I thought was helping was actually hurting. So to answer your question, for me, it was just a way of suppressing feelings rather than dealing with them.
I'm trying to think back over all of the guests that I've had on this show. Very few continue to drink. The majority of the people that I've had on here are abstinent from alcohol.
That's awesome.
That says something.
Absolutely. And I've got and there's a ripple effect to it. I know that maybe
yes, yes, there is.
I know that. So the weekend with my three friends, two of them have quit drinking alcohol because of I quit drinking alcohol. They've flat out told me that. There's people at the gym that I know have quit drinking alcohol, whether it was because of something I did or something I said or something somebody else said. And I can't take credit for all of them, but I'm sure I've had an impact in them of stopping at some point.
Same here. Yeah, I know of two people in particular. Both were like nutrition mindset clients, and told them my story. Recommended to them that they try to stop. One is absolutely crushing it, like major big time. The other's more recent. We'll say like a few months maybe without it. Also a crazy transformation so far that other people are noticing and influencing the people around them, which is amazing to see. Like that's the point.
Absolutely.
You want to be that beacon for others. And if you can, then it, like you said, it's a ripple effect, and it's going to have a positive impact on our community, which again makes our communities more resilient. And that's the point.
Yep. So when you're nutrition coaching, do you, in that process, do you also try to get them to promote eating real food?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's part of it. Actually, I have a new client that just started a couple weeks ago. we do what's called the green light, yellow light, and red light food lists.
Yep.
And so they go through all the green light foods are things that help you with your goals. They digest well. You can eat it without going overboard, stuff like that. On the other end, red light foods are things that don't digest well. They don't help you with your goals. It's hard to stop eating them once you start. And then the yellow light foods are kind of like the in-betweeners. Yep. In moderation, it's pretty good. If you go overboard, not so good. For me, it's peanut butter, and it depends on what type of utensil I use. If I use a knife for peanut butter, no problem. But if I use a spoon, that's when I get into trouble. So that's a yellow light food for me. Yep. And so we look at how many of those green light foods can you keep in your fridge, cooked, washed, cut, whatever, prepared, ready to go. And then for the red light foods, how do you keep them either out of your house or harder to reach? If you don't know they're in your house, then you're probably not going to go after them as easily as if they're right at your eye level when you open the cupboard. So we talk a lot about those types of foods.
Gotcha. And I think that's also a catalyst. We talk about replacing alcohol with water, replace it with something else.
Yeah.
Is what we tried to do. And same with food. It's not an elimination game because that makes them want to crave it more. It's a swapping out game. And I think for myself, I know that going to eating real, eliminating alcohol and adding real food has been your gut health. Your gut is your second brain.
Yes.
So take care of your gut, you take care of your brain. So yeah, and another transformation that happens once the first one is out or is on the way out, the real food helps catapult that next transformation.
It's absolutely true. I've seen it time and time again.
Yep. Awesome.
Todd, I like to finish off these episodes with asking all of the guests the same question. And I'd like to hear in your own words, how would you define resiliency?
I was waiting for this one.
Good.
Because I like to watch or listen to your episodes. How do I define resiliency is the ability to respond rather than react. Resiliency is also, to me, I've got a tattoo of a tree on my arm. Trees are pretty resilient. They can bend, they can bow, they can flex. Unless it's a very high wind, they don't break. That's what, for I guess, resiliency for me is respond, not react.
How do you define the two? How do you differentiate those two? I did a whole podcast episode on this, so I'd like to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
All right. I'd say response is we talked about the marble, or you talked about the marbles, taking a minute to respond, to let your brain process the question you just got asked. A reaction is flying off the handle, or just a quick, I got it. A reaction is not listening to the end of the question, then giving them an answer. That's my thoughts on reaction versus response.
Love it. Yeah, I see it as a speed thing. Responding is more of a slowed down process, and a reaction is more hot and fast. And
yep, 100%. Yep.
Cool. Can you give our listeners? I know you've said a ton of things in here already, but one piece of practical advice that you could give our listeners to help them become more resilient in your own eyes.
Sure. Good question. Choices. One thing, you got choices. Everybody's got choices. You can have choices that create positive outcomes, or you can create choices that have negative outcomes. You can come to a path of ambivalence. You got a choice to go one way or the other. So for me, it was always consistently creating choices or making choices that created positive outcomes.
Love it. Todd, you've just founded a new company. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that, and then how they could find you on the socials if they could find you?
Absolutely. It's evolving. So Clear Insight is a productivity company. I'm aiming towards corporate wellness. We have too many. Our number one problem in America is obesity. And once people inside corporate America or inside businesses figure out that they can help their employees be healthy, their business is going to get healthier. So my goal is or what I'm working on is building a corporate wellness program to help businesses grow from the inside out. That's the short end. And I do some one-on-one coaching with nutrition, mindset, some workshops, and soon to be retreats with Kevin.
Yeah.
Man, who knows? And other than that, it's Todd Squires Coach on the Instagram.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for sharing your insights and everything with our listeners. Anything else you'd like to mention before we sign off today?
No, man, I'm glad to be here, Kevin. I didn't, when we went through level 2, we were talking about going on podcasts. I'm like, yeah, this is probably never going to happen. So I'm stretching my boundaries and opening myself up to be able to do this. So I'm starting to enjoy it. They're fun.
This wasn't your first podcast though, was it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good. But, and it won't be your last either, correct?
No. So last week I kind of opened myself up. It was weird. Short, quick story. I opened myself up to receiving. Actually, it was right after I messaged you about being on your podcast. I got phone calls for 3 other podcasts that they wanted me to come on. I'm like, where did this just come from? It was pretty wild. Awesome. So yeah, like more in the future.
There you go, man. All right. Wishing you the best. Awesome. Thanks for coming by today.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest episodes, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.